Hello, my name's Holly Mackay. I'm Managing Director of the Platforum. I'm joined today by Paul and Justine from Origo, hi guys, who are the kind sponsors of the 2013 Platforum Awards. Justine, I wanted to talk to you today about transfers. There's nearly 1 million SIPP accounts in the UK, but still about 85% of transfers are done as cash. Why is this?
Well, with the SIPP, you can get a range of assets within the SIPP. You can have your more simple funds and equities, you can have your tips, your unlisted securities, your properties, a whole range of esoteric assets. And sometimes you can't re-register those assets because they might be legacy assets. And so therefore cash transfers becomes more attractive. And that's why you see more cash transfers coming through as opposed to re-registrations. What we'd like to see is more re-registration because of the benefits that it offers to the end client. You're not putting them at an out-of-market risk because you're not selling those assets, and you're not putting them in a tax liability risk either. So being able to more simply re-register the assets automatically then also helps to reduce transfer times as well.
So Paul, you have a solution called Options. What is it and what does it actually do?
Well, Options sits in the middle of all the parties to a transfer. So whether you are the seeding provider or platform or the receiving provider or platform, it'll sit in the middle and you only have to communicate to it. You don't have to communicate with all the different parties. So Options will deal with your counterparties, it'll deal with the nominees, it'll deal with the sub-nominees. All those different parties then only have to deal with one point in the middle which will manage the process between everybody. It'll send the right data to the right party at the same time. So of all the transfers that Options has carried out over the past 5 years, total value has been around £26 billion. So last year, for example, that was £12 billion. And volumes are growing by about 40% per annum. So it's pretty important that it sits in the middle of everybody and everybody in the industry is around it and using it.
And so Paul, for a group looking at Options, what's the commercial imperative for them to get behind this?
Well, I think that the best way to answer that is an example that we were told by a SIPP player that we interviewed as part of our research. And he said very simply, using a service like Options would at least cut his transfer times by half. It would cut his costs in dealing with transfers at least by half. He would have less audit and control issues because the system was taking care of all of that. His chasing team would have far less work to do. There'd be less paperwork, there'd be less data entry and fewer errors and therefore less rework. And he would save a lot of time and attention on his data protection breaches as well. So how good a proposition is that?
And when you've talked to some groups about this, do they ever worry that they're actually just facilitating transfers out of the business? Is this something you come up against?
Yes, but only very briefly, because I think people have now worked out that if they're going to lose money in a transfer, they might as well spend as little as money as possible, doing it as fast as possible, because that's in the interest of the customer, who at that point has decided they're going to leave their money anyway.
So Paul, Justine, thank you for joining us. Thank you very much for sponsoring our first Platforum Awards. Over and out. Thank you very much for listening.